So Alex, we're on Instagram now. If you want to switch over, or you can stay where you are. That's cool as well.
Do I need to have Instagram or an account? So
no, you can just tap on the link.
Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I'll join by Instagram.
Sure.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.
Does he have a link?
I sent it to him earlier. Yeah.
Oh, you know Alex. Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Namaste. So this evening we're going to have a Bhagavad Gita discussion. But first, we're just going to get into the mood, into the spirit of it, by having a little bit of mantra meditation, or what's called kirtan. Man means mind, and tra means to free. So mantra meditation is about freeing the anxieties, the stresses, the worries of the mind, moving those away, so that our mind is open, it's fresh, yeah. And so then we can actually focus on something higher, something supreme, yeah. And so this practice of mantra meditation, we can do it on a regular basis, on a daily basis, and we can cleanse our mind in that way. We can cleanse our mind and always be connected to the Supreme. And that connection is called yoga. Yoga means connection. So I will just sing an invocation prayer. I've got a portable harmonium with me today, so it's a little bit smaller. This is a very small group at the moment. So I'll sing an invocation prayer, and then I'll chant the Hare Krishna mantra. And if you want the words, they're in the introduction of the Bhagavad Gita. And if you know them, then you can follow. We're going to do what's called call and response. So I will sing, and then you will sing, and you can respond. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Prastitade Sathayane Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. We're tuning music here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Here we are for a second Friday night, isn't it? Session.
That's right. Thanks.
So before we start, we'll chant the invocation mantras, which is in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. And what we'll do this time, we'll also read the translation of the first one, and like that we'll start to learn them slowly as well, because it's nice to hear the mantras, the Sanskrit, the original language, but it's also better to learn what it means, so you understand the meaning behind the mantra. So I'll go through the whole thing, and then we'll just read the English for the first one. Okay? Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Devacha Patithana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Pangoti Vachalam Pangolam Gayate Gim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinitarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram. So as I mentioned last week as well, this is called Mangalacharan. So it's a meditation to bring about auspiciousness, or to follow in the path of auspiciousness, which auspiciousness of course means how you want to describe it, like, good fortune. Yeah. So it draws good fortune, to follow in the path of those who have good fortune. And so this first mantra which we read is translated as such: I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisance unto him. Yeah. So it's just basically a prayer, or a meditation, which is giving respects to the teachers who have given us spiritual wisdom. Yeah. And it's acknowledging that we're getting this from a pure source, which has been handed down from time to today. I think it might be a good idea to have the lights, because it's really dark on the screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably in the front.
Yeah. And it's getting a little bit darker outside now too, since we started. So this week, let's just quickly recap what we discussed last week. Essentially what we spoke about was why should someone read the Bhagavad Gita? Why should someone approach Bhagavad Gita for knowledge? And what is the contents of the Bhagavad Gita? How the Bhagavad Gita can be learned, and how it helps us in our life now and also after. Right? So, just carrying on from last week, was there anything that you wanted to ask that we didn't get time for? Because I think you had lots of questions and things, but I'll just summarize. So, we spoke about how Bhagavad Gita is very transformational, yeah, because it comes from a line of teachers which are teaching Sanatan, or the eternal, right? instead of teaching something which is relative truth, which is what we experience in this world, is teaching something which is absolute truth, which doesn't change. Because by definition, truth means something which doesn't change, isn't it? Yeah. But actually, what we find in the world around us is that something that was true yesterday is no longer true today. Yeah. And so, therefore, Bhagavad Gita is giving us something which is always relevant. Yeah. And it's a process of realizing that knowledge. Actually, the process is that if the knowledge is already there, it's simply a process of waking up to it, rather than a process where we're trying to, discover things around you. Yeah, it's a process where everything's given to you, but you just have to be able to utilize it like tools in your life. And we spoke about the 5 features of the Bhagavad Gita. Those are the 5 truths. Yeah. So the first one was Ishvara, which means the controller. The second one was the Jiva, which means the self. Then there was Prakriti, which means nature. Then the 4th one was Karma, and time is Kala, the 5th one. Yeah. So knowing this, we can understand where we're going in our life, what our goal in life is, and also we can live in a way which helps us to attain that goal, which is Sanatana, the eternal. Yeah? So those are some of the things we discussed. So this week what we're going to do, we're going to talk about ourselves, okay? What our limitations are, and how the Bhagavad Gita helps us to overcome those limitations. Because if the Bhagavad Gita is coming from a higher place, then therefore it must be perfect in its nature, right? If it's the absolute truth, if it is what it says it is, that's what it says on the tin, on the cover, then it must be coming from a place where it's free from defect. It's not defective, it's not faulty, it doesn't have any imperfections, right? Like that. That's the idea. That spiritual knowledge or absolute truth, it shouldn't be defective in any way. Yeah. So there are 2 principles to that. One is that if the Bhagavad Gita is in itself perfect wisdom, the second principle is that it has to be handed down, has to be taught also by someone who is perfect or someone who has become perfected in their life. Okay? Because even if you've got something which is perfect and complete, if someone is only taking a parcel of that, a portion of that, then you won't get the full benefit also. Yeah. So both the knowledge has to be complete, and the way it's given has to be complete as well. Yeah. And so we're going to discuss this aspect today. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Just being curious, how is the structure of this session going to be like? It's not chapter wise. It's
So
going good.
again, this is like a second introduction. So in the next week will be a third introduction, and then we'll actually go into the text after the 3rd week. Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going good. Just want to understand.
Yeah. So I've been basically because I've got different structures for courses. So like I said initially, what we'll do is we'll see what direction we have as an audience. So these are just orientation sessions where we can kind of grasp what topics are interesting, and then based on questions and things, and we can either do a thematic study. So we'll just pick out themes, and we can look at how to develop certain qualities in us. Like how to remove anger, how to remove pride, how to develop humility, how to develop tolerance. So we can do it like a thematic study. That's one way. Another way of doing it is like studying by chapters. So then we get to understand the Bhagavad Gita in terms of the different yoga systems and how that unfolds, to a conclusion.
Yeah, thanks for that.
So those are kind of like a couple of the methods we could use
Sure, thanks for
for studying. But for today, what we're going to look at is So how one can approach the Bhagavad Gita and what the Bhagavad Gita is giving us. So how the Bhagavad Gita is giving us something which is perfect, but because we're imperfect by default, we have imperfections. How we can become also perfect and understand the Bhagavad Gita better. Yeah. So I'll just get my notes together. Probably won't be able to find them. Okay, so so when I say we're defective, it's not something we really like to think about or discuss. But the Vedas, which is like the body of knowledge, the ancient body of Indian knowledge in general, which Bhagavad Gita is kind of the summary of. Bhagavad Gita is a summary of all of the Vedic truths. Yeah. The Vedic knowledge, it describes 4 types of defects which one would want to overcome. Yeah. And so we can think about it in our own lives, like what defects I have, which limitations I have that are inherent with having a body. These are defects which are inherent with having a body, because like we said last week, we're not a body. We're not a body that's having a spiritual experience, right? We're a spirit that's having a bodily experience, a human experience. Yeah. So, with that being the case, with the body you get defects. Yeah. So the first defect that's explained is that we are subjected to illusion. Illusion. So what does illusion mean to you? Illusion. If I just said the word illusion, what kind of illusion?
Something which isn't there, but yeah, it's kind of visible, like tricking you.
Something which isn't there,
yeah,
but it looks like it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also the other way around as well, isn't it? Something which is there, which we can't see also. Yeah? Right? So an example of illusion would be if you're in a desert,
Mirage.
see a mirage, isn't it? So why do we have that? Why do we see that?
Because of the angle of ray.
Yeah, because the sunlight reflecting on the sand, right? But it doesn't actually in itself create the illusion. It's the defect of the eye, isn't it? So illusion, it's like basically, this is how magic, like magic tricks, they work based on illusion. It's not that necessarily like, someone is holding something here and then magically it comes up over here. But there's an illusion which you don't see. There's something going on behind the scenes which you don't see, which you don't acknowledge. That would be an illusion. Yeah. Basically, it would be a trick of the mind. Yeah. We're not able to process something that's an illusion. So because by nature we're illusion, then the second thing that follows is another defect which is called imperfect senses. Yeah? Imperfect senses. Okay, if we flip it round and say perfect senses, what would that experience be like if we had perfect senses?
They'll be like superhumans.
Yeah, I probably would need to wear these glasses first of all. Overwhelming. Yeah. If our senses could just pick up on everything, yeah, it would be quite overwhelming. So our body is limited, you see, by our senses, right? And you can see how different bodies have different limitations, right? So what could be an example of that? Different types of bodies, different types of life forms, different species around us. Yeah. Have different capacities for their senses, isn't it? Actually, it's interesting. Like the human in terms of senses are very restricted, right? Because dogs, they can smell better, right? Cats can see better, bats can hear better, right? And so on. Elephants have a better sense of touch, yeah. And then what else? Taste. So apparently fish have a very strong sense of taste, you know. But you can see all these different types of animals, they're often caught by, if you wanted to catch a fish, how do you catch a fish?
Net usually.
Been fishing before?
Fishing net maybe.
Yeah, you can take a fishing line and they put a worm or they put something, and the sense of taste is too much for the fish to handle. So they bite it knowing that it's going to kill me, right? Similarly, like if you wanted to catch an elephant, is again not something we'd want to do, but the way that elephants are caught is
It's difficult.
huh?
It's difficult to catch an elephant.
Yeah, they put another. You have to have either if you're a male elephant or female elephant, you put the opposite gender, and because of that sense of touch that the elephant enjoys, and if you see, they always when they walk, they're always close together actually, because that sense of touch they enjoy. Then they catch them. They put a pit underneath the elephant, and that's how they catch elephants. They fall in the pit when they come into contact. You see, yeah. So it's a horrible thing, but you know people know that different animals have different sense power. So anyway, so you get the idea with that. But it's obviously our human senses are much less powerful than the animal senses. Yeah. Now the third one is to make mistakes, to make error. Yeah. So because we're illusion, we're subject to illusions. We have not got perfect senses. We've got incomplete senses, imperfect senses. Then the next one is to make mistakes, right? So when it comes to building up knowledge by experimentation, building up knowledge by evaluation, or by logic, or by reason, these are the ways that we're taught to develop ourselves, to develop our knowledge, isn't it, in the world? At school you're taught that way, right? Through chemistry, physics, biology, so on, you know, like all the different sciences that are there. And there's nothing wrong with that, that's necessary also, you know, to develop and use our senses, use our intellect, use our reasoning, you know, to build up our knowledge, of course. But the problem is, because there are errors, yeah, then this knowledge which is given to us by others who have experimented and learned, it's also defective. There are also defects in that knowledge. So that knowledge is born with defects. Yeah. Not to say that it's wrong, but it may not be complete, right? So, for example, so to be able to see into space, what would you use? Telescope. What would you be using to see, you know, into
Microscope.
Yeah, into the smaller, you know, zoom into the world around us. We use a microscope, right? So because we have imperfect senses, we have to create devices to, you know, improve our senses. But we're creating instruments with already imperfect senses. So we're trying to see something which is just an extension of our imperfect senses. Yeah? We're trying to look into something which is just an extension of our imperfect senses. So then the fourth defect is called cheating. You know? Cheating. And this is what we're subjected to. We're either subjected to ourselves cheating others because of the, you know, we're under these illusions of what is absolute truth, or we are cheated by others in terms of what is the absolute truth. Yeah. So these are the four defects. Do you remember them?
Illusion.
Yes.
Sense.
Yeah.
The last one was cheating.
Defects.
And why do you need an eraser when you're working? Because you make mistakes.
Mistakes.
Yeah. That's why pencils, the best ones, come with the eraser at the end. And you can rub things out. Yeah. Okay, so these are four defects. So the Vedas, they claim to be free from defect, which is called apurushaya. Free from defect. And now, so in this way, it's very special having the Bhagavad Gita, because it's a book which is perfect in that it's free from these 4 defects. It says that there are 4 defects, and it says that the book is free from the defects. And it has to be passed down by someone, has to be taught by someone who is also free from defect. So I'm not claiming I'm free from defect, but that's why it's important to approach this knowledge with a spiritual teacher, you know. So here Swami Prabhupada, who's written this edition of Bhagavad Gita with the commentaries, he's explaining from a level of being free from defect. That's why they are called the spiritual master or the guru. Yeah. So this is a summary of these defects. Now, just looking at the title, we'll move on to the next part of the discussion. This book is called Bhagavad Gita, okay? And it's quite interesting, just in terms of the name itself even, because what does Gita mean? Gita is quite a common word in Indian languages, at least. Do you know what it means? Gita?
Some song.
Song, yeah.
A verse.
Yeah, generally it means like song, yeah, or even, yeah. So Bhagavad Gita is a song, you know. It's got 700 verses in this song, 700 verses, and it's split into 18 chapters. Yeah. So this is a song, and it's a song by Bhagavat, right? So Bhagavat, what does that mean? That means the supreme. Yeah. Bhagavat means supreme. Some people they read Bhagavat as meaning the supreme being. Yeah, supreme being. So it's a perfect song by a supreme being. So someone who is Bhagavan, or the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, is a perfect being. Bhagavan is a perfect being. Yeah? And a Bhagavat is someone who can recite the Bhagavad Gita perfectly. That person is also perfect soul. Yeah? So there are 2 Bhagavats. Yeah? There is Bhagavan, the person who is speaking the original Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan. That's Krishna. He spoke the Bhagavad Gita. And then there's also Bhagavat, the teacher, who's teaching because of his perfection. Yeah. Right, so now, actually if we look through Bhagavad Gita, I'll just explain how it's been written. Okay. I used to when I first read and studied Bhagavad Gita under my teacher, was taught also how to share the Bhagavad Gita with others. And as my service to my teacher, I would go out on the street and actually go out and sell and teach Bhagavad Gita to people, you know. So I would go out on the street and then pass out Bhagavad Gitas to people and get them in touch in ways that they could learn Bhagavad Gita, right? And one thing I would say to people that I pass on Bhagavad Gita to is I would say it's a 3D book. Not 3D, of course, in the sense that, you know, it's like a physical book, obviously, but in terms of reading it, you can read it in 3 different dimensions. Would you like to know what they are? Sure. So one is when you open any page, say in the middle of the Bhagavad Gita, you've got different sets of texts here. Yeah. So at the top you've got the Sanskrit text, which is like the original text of the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. Script, Sanskrit. Yeah. So what do you think script means? It sounds very similar to the English word script.
Something written.
Something written. Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So it's Sanskrit. So script basically means the writing itself, the scripture. Yeah. Or the written word. Yeah. And san means perfect. So it's written in this perfect language. Yeah. So that's the language Sanskrit. So that's actually in there as well, the original language from this Bhagavad Gita. Of course, we may not be able to read that I can't read Sanskrit, and it's said that it takes several years to learn Sanskrit. Yeah, so we might be reading that one maybe, but just underneath there, you've got the what's called the transliteration. So at least we can read those words, you know, and that's basically exactly what the Sanskrit says. And that way we can learn Sanskrit too. So that's one way of reading Bhagavad Gita in the Sanskrit language, right? So that's one dimension. Now the second dimension for Bhagavad Gita is each and every single word in this Bhagavad Gita, because it's called Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? We know we're going to get the exact same pure message because every single word has been translated, you know, each and every word. So that's quite a painstaking effort to do that. And that's what Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has done. So each and every word is translated, as you can see there. I've just opened a random page here. Yeah. So it says Yada, when, Sattva, the mode of goodness. Yeah. So as you can see, every word is translated. Then, so this is the first thing. So the second way of reading Bhagavad Gita is by just reading the translations. The translations are there in the bold. Yeah. So on each one of the verses, there will be a translation. Okay. So I've just opened here. So one of the bold texts here is, of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle, O Arjuna. Of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So that's a very, you know, clear way to understand what the meaning of the Sanskrit is. Yeah. So that's the second way of reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is just the translations. Now the third dimension of Bhagavad Gita, so this is more on a personal level if you want to study Bhagavad Gita, or if we go like literally verse by verse by verse of Bhagavad Gita, is with the purport here, yeah? And the purport basically means the meaning that comes behind the translation. And that's important because, so like I said at the beginning, someone who's fully understood the Bhagavad Gita, they can put everything into context, you know. It's like having a jigsaw puzzle. When you open it out of the box, everything's over the place. To put it all together, these purports, they give everything context. Because otherwise we can, with our own imperfect senses, our errors, our, you know, defects, all our different defects, our illusion, our cheating, we can put it together in different ways. Yeah, it's quite easy to do that. So, in order to retain that pure meaning of the Bhagavad Gita in the context of what it's giving us, then the purport's really powerful. Yeah, does it make sense? So that's the third dimension of Bhagavad Gita. So it's like a 3D book, as I say. So now we've discussed the defects we have, the format of the Bhagavad Gita, and now what I wanted to discuss as a main part of this afternoon. How long do we have actually?
We have to finish 8:45.
Yeah, that'll be fine. I'll finish in 5 to 10 minutes then. So the final part is is ourselves. So I said that we want to become perfect, right? In other words, we want to purify and increase and open our consciousness. Yeah, we want to expand our consciousness so that we can access the Bhagavad Gita and also have a higher experience in this world, have a more spiritual experience. Yeah. Because Bhagavad Gita is like one of the chapters here in Bhagavad Gita is called Attaining the Supreme. So that's our goal, attaining the Supreme. Yeah?
Have you managed to achieve it? Have you managed to
No,
achieve it?
have I managed to achieve the Supreme? No, but I feel like I'm on the path.
Different view of life, more spiritual experience of life.
Yeah,
I managed to feel that.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's why by inspiration, I feel like I want to share it with people. Yeah. So no matter how much you take from the Bhagavad Gita, that much you can share, right? So as much as I've learned and shared, I can go on and on, you know, growing in my spiritual development. And at the same time, It doesn't end. That's the thing. So we have an idea that attaining supreme means like I've hit the ceiling, and then that's it. It stops. You know, because that's how I would think everything we experience in this world is based on limitation. But attaining the supreme really means that there's no roof; it just keeps going. Right? So isn't that amazing? That you have a book here, which just keeps going. You can keep reading it and keep going deeper. Yeah? Keep getting different insights. So that's Bhagavad Gita. But we have to, in order to do that, raise our consciousness as well. Right? So the more expanded our consciousness is, the more we will experience Bhagavad Gita, the more we'll experience spiritual happiness. Yeah. So what we were saying last time was the nature of the soul is Sat, Chit, and Ananda. It has three features, the soul, in Sanskrit. Just like Lena, isn't it?
Lena.
She said that right at the end, you know, that may we have more peace, may we have more wisdom, and may we have more bliss or happiness. Yeah? So these are actually what we're all looking for as a soul, as a living being. Every living being, what we're all looking for is actually these three things which are already within us. Yeah? We're looking for something which is already within.
The question is why we are so disconnected from it.
Yeah. So that's because we have these four defects which block us. First of all, we're illusion. We don't realize. We're looking everywhere else for that which is already within. Secondly, when we experience everything in the world, it's because we have imperfect senses, we can't actually fully benefit from everything which is around us. Yeah? Or we go looking for the wrong thing. Yeah? So that's called error we make. And then we go and tell everybody, this was great, I had an amazing time. You know? When actually it was just like, you know, it was just a time pass. It was just, you know, something to fill the day. And people go through life like that, right? Life goes like that.
I have one question, if I manage to say. There is an idea that I'm entertained with for the last few weeks. It's self-love. And
Self-love.
I'm quite curious, how can we love another person so much? And most of us cannot love ourselves the same way, or even close to that. It's so much easier to love someone else, and it's so hard to show that love towards yourself.
Deep question, yeah. Good
I
reflection.
love the answer still, but I'm quite curious about that.
Until you realize that self-love is the best love.
But I mean, everything is there as a theory, but to really show it and feel it, it's hard.
Yeah, that's
It's hard.
again, it all comes back to Bhagavad Gita, the 4 points.
We can discuss that a little bit, yeah. Self-love. So, just if we look at this term in itself, right, on its own, then we can just see what meaning it has for us, and see if there's a deeper meaning to that term as well, yeah. And then actually, I can try and tie it in nicely with this. What I was going to say. So self and love, the two words, yeah, self-love. So first, it depends on what's our understanding of ourself, right? When we're talking about loving ourselves, what are we talking about? Are we talking about loving our body, you know, looking after our body, making it fit and healthy? For some people, that's self-love, isn't it? Right? Now, another level is looking after, so one level is, actually even we can break it into 2 parts. So one level, someone might say self-love is just indulging. Okay, let's say that's the first level. Yeah? So that's called anamaya. Yeah, that first level. Yeah? So that's basically, ana means food. Yeah? And maya means consciousness. So the first level of self-love is just, you know, gratifying, just filling oneself with everything that the senses can take. Yeah? But a little bit higher than that, it's called pranamaya. So that's like, I love myself, I'm going to look after myself, I'm going to be physically healthy and strong and, you know, have vitality and life. Prana means life, you know. So that's the second level. Then the third level is called manamai. Yeah. So manamai is having a clear mind. Having good dealings, interactions with one another. Yeah. Having good social setup, having good relationships with people around us, sense of community, sense that gives peace to the mind. Yeah. Because when we're disturbed, we will disturb others naturally, right? Isn't it? Even if we have good food and all, if we have good health and that, but if we're mentally disturbed, if there's something which bothers us, that's going to come out and affect others as well. So Manamoya is working on that platform of the mind. Then the next level is called Vijnanamoy, right? Vijnanamoy is above the body now. It goes above the body, this identity of self. That I'm not my body, I'm not my mind, yeah, but I'm the soul. So that doesn't come just by knowledge, by reading, yeah. It doesn't come by gyan or knowledge. That comes by actually churning that knowledge, realizing it, digesting it, like we were talking about last week. It's one thing digesting food and then feeling healthy, yeah. But it's another thing as well. If you have knowledge and you digest it, and it actually becomes part of you, you live it. That's called realized knowledge or wisdom. Yeah, it's a transformation from just having information to wisdom. So then, someone who's wise, they don't enjoy through the body and the mind; they enjoy within from the soul. Yeah, and then that brings us to the fifth level. Enjoying through the soul means anandamaya. Yeah, and that's our essential nature. That's what we were looking for. The ananda, that bliss, the highest level of happiness. So self-love, yeah, is when we can reach that level of anandamaya, because love means in the modern world, like day to day, when we say I love, we can say I love ice cream, I love fitness, I love reading, I love society and different activities that we can do. But actually, love means when we often say love, what we're really saying is I like. We're saying I like, and the difference between like and love, what do you think that is? What's the difference between someone says I like this and I love this? Because it's quite interesting. Is it that love is just kind of a deeper expression of that you like something? What is love really?
Love basically for me is like surrendering. Like you surrender yourself, like from higher perspective. Like I say God. So if I say I love Krishna, so it's like I surrender to him. So
surrendering.
Like you just give yourself to the person in front of you or to yourself. If I say I love myself, I surrender to myself. So there's no looking back. Whatever he or she or that thing asks for, I need to surrender myself, my soul.
Yeah, submitting or surrendering.
Like is just like I like it. I may dislike it anytime. That's it.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts about it? Love. What is love? When we take.
First words that came to my mind were acceptance. Acceptance. And,
Okay.
what was the other point?
You can take it easy on it. Be mindful of your voice.
Connection and acceptance.
Connection and acceptance. Love means connection and acceptance.
And that was just my first impression.
Yes, that's nice.
Also, I do surrender.
Surrender as well. Yeah. So, if I was asked, what's the difference between to like something and to love something, I would think that to like means is based on what my preference is, what I like, right? What my preference is. But love actually, it means what the other person's preference is, what the other person likes. If we're gonna love somebody, then we're not going to relate with that person only when it pleases us. Yeah? I like this, and because they like it, I like them, I love them. But real love means when you when you can actually, appreciate the other person for what they are, who they are, what they like, what they dislike, and be able to surrender to that person's needs, like you said, or appreciate that person. Yeah. So it's actually the difference between like and love is selflessness. If we can be selfless, that's love. If we can be selfish, that's like.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be an answer to my question that if we are selfless in a love for somebody else, then we can actually not even love ourselves because it would be selfish? Well,
So is there such a thing as selfless love?
yeah, no, but any more questions?
Is there also such a thing as self-love? Because that was your original question, isn't it? The answer is...
Perhaps I didn't use the expression, but it's just perhaps to respect yourself and care about yourself, or however you call it.
Self-care, okay.
It's so much easier to show it to someone else. At least I find it this way.
Yeah, so that comes because of selflessness. The more selfless we are, then the more we can actually love. And that's why this highest platform called Ananda Maya, this is a complete selfless platform. Yeah? And it's based on just selflessly serving others. Yeah? Serving the Supreme, and in seeing the Supreme in others, part of the Supreme in others. Yeah? Serving the Supreme whole.
What happens to you then?
You feel fulfilled, satisfied.
By doing these things.
Yeah, by serving the Supreme and serving others as well, because everything is connected to the Supreme. Yeah. So now, how can we? Because it's hard to understand that concept. So one way we could look at it is someone can only serve and serve and serve, give and give and give, if they are complete and full in themselves, isn't it? Right? Like if you've got ingredients in the kitchen, you can cook for someone. If you don't have those ingredients, then you're not going to be able to cook for someone, right? Like I said in the beginning, everything we're looking for is within us already. That Satchit Ananda is there already within us. Yeah? But because we're looking for it elsewhere, then we're not going to be able to give. It's at that point when we are internally, when we're on that platform of Ananda Maya, or at least we're trying to get there, we're trying to practice it, because it's already there. If we're trying to just bring some of that out, that selflessness out by serving others, then we'll experience completeness. Yeah? Until that point where we get to be complete. And then we can give and give. Then we can be truly selfless. Yeah? So self-love, it basically means when one is complete, they can give. That's really self-love. But to get there, you have to become that. You have to become that complete soul. Then you can fully surrender. Yeah. Does it make sense?
We'll finish it.
Wrap up here, yeah? So, again with these five levels, yeah? So the level of the animalistic level of just gratification, that level you can't understand Bhagavad Gita. Yeah? We can't appreciate, because that level is just about engaging the senses. The next level, which is Pranamoya, we can look at the Bhagavad Gita on that level, and many people, they think when they look at Bhagavad Gita, they think it's a book about war, it's a book about battle, because that's how Bhagavad Gita starts. It starts on a battlefield, But then the third level, someone on the Manamoya, they're thinking, or the level of the mind, they're thinking that this is a book that's going to help me socially. This is a book that's going to help me with my dealings with others, and help me with my mind. Yeah? And the next level, of course, is the Vijnanamaya. So that level, someone is thinking, this book is going to help me become free from these material, as we said, these like imperfections, these defects. Yeah? But when someone's at the highest level of Anandamaya, they're reading this book with a connection with Krishna, the Supreme Person. So Krishna is revealing himself as the Supreme here. And that person who's an Anandamaya, they're able to give themselves to the Bhagavad Gita, they're able to surrender to the Bhagavad Gita. And when they live those teachings of Bhagavad Gita, they're able to experience Krishna, they're able to experience the Supreme. Yeah? And so that Supreme is everywhere, Krishna is everywhere. But Krishna is also within himself. He's also independent of everything. Yeah? So this is what the nature of the Supreme is. The Supreme is independent and at the same time within everything. And that's called the Chintya Veda Veda Tattva. Okay? So, yeah, I think we'll wrap up with that point then, and we'll keep discovering more of the Bhagavad Gita, some of the themes. We'll go on to next week's. I wonder if anyone online has ability to ask questions before we finish. Do you know if we can check that?
Yeah. You would have
How do you
message
see
if
it?
someone. Just these ones. See, if we had comments, it would have been here. So we just waving hands. Yeah, we don't have any comments as such.
Okay.
I'm just going to wave. Yeah, they left, I guess.
Sure. So then, just to summarize, so we have these 4 defects, but we're approaching a book which is free from defect. Okay? And in order to get the most out of that book, we have to rise our consciousness. We have to rise from, gratification up to bliss. Yeah? And then we can live the Bhagavad Gita, we can see Krishna in our life, and we can serve the Supreme, we can serve Krishna, as well as serve one another selflessly. Yeah? And that will actually is what makes us happy. Okay, so we'll finish there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Om Tat Sat. Can I press this one?
Yeah.